Alrighty, so we are about to make some good old buttermilk biscuits because we're in the South and you have to know how to make a biscuit. This recipe, I say this recipe comes off of the Martha White flour bag, and it kind of does, but a lot of this is modified because I like to be difficult. No, it's because like my family has used this recipe for years and we just kind of have made modifications to it as we went. One modification I'm doing today that I haven't done before is I'm gonna add a little bit of whole wheat flour because I've liked it in all of my other breads and I kind of want to see how it turns out in this. So this recipe calls for 2 cups of self-rising flour, which means I need to make my all-purpose flour self-rising. How do you do that? Per 1 cup of all-purpose flour, you add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and then 1.25 teaspoon of salt. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 of these because this is 2 cups of flour. I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I'm actually just gonna go ahead and add a little bit more salt, about a whole teaspoon, because the recipe doesn't call for salt, but they're biscuits. So you kind of need some salt. I'm gonna need, what's the best way to do this? Actually, I'm just gonna do this with my hands because I'm gonna do the shortening with my hands anyway. So yeah, so now I have 2 cups of self-rising flour, and that is a mixture of all-purpose and whole wheat. So the quantity I did of all-purpose and whole wheat, I did 1.5 cups of all-purpose and 1/2 cup of whole wheat. I like to do about 1/4 of whole wheat. All right, so the next step is to cut the shortening into the flour, which is why I'm going to use my hands. You can do this with a fork. I find it difficult, so I like to just do it with my hands, and it's fun to play with flour and shortening and everything. So ew. Okay, if I can get it off me and into this. So what does this mean? Basically, I'm just gonna mush the flour with the shortening until it's kind of all spread throughout the flour. It's not gonna mix with the flour because it's shortening. I used to love doing this as a kid. This is what I would do in the kitchen when my mom was cooking other stuff. I would sit there and cut the shortening into the flour because that is the most fun for kids. If you have kids, let them do this part. That was always a highlight of making biscuits. We made biscuits all the time, so it was always a fun process. Yeah, that's probably good. You can let your kids sit there and do that for however long you need some time, and they will be happy to sit there and do it. But this is probably pretty good. It's pretty distributed. I'm not feeling any big chunks. All right, beautiful. Make sure it's in all of it. Now, I haven't made this recipe in a while, so I can't remember how many biscuits it makes. I'm gonna guess 12, which is gonna be plenty for us for now. You can always double it. I'm gonna rinse my hands. Alrighty, so now we mix in the buttermilk We use buttermilk. The recipe calls for regular milk, so if you don't have buttermilk, you don't have to use it. It calls for 3/4 of a cup. And that's what we're gonna start with, but you never know, you might need a little bit more. It's about 3/4 of a cup. You can see my measurements are exact and perfect all the time. Never any mistakes. Yeah. All right, whew, cold. This should show you how easy it is to make your own biscuits. Biscuits are so good. I haven't had like good homemade biscuits in a minute. I feel like it's gonna need a little bit more. Maybe too thick. Kind of just gotta do what your heart tells you, you know? Sometimes you do more, sometimes you do less. I still feel like that's a little much. But it should be thick. I mean, it should be thick, but this is a little too thick. Maybe it's because I use wheat flour. Makes it a little tougher. All right. Weird noises. Daggum, am I gonna have to use more flour now? I might put too much in it. Because it shouldn't be sticky either. It's been a while since I did this, so maybe I should have followed the recipe. Oh well, it is what it is. I don't really remember if we ever needed it or not, but I'm about to need this for a little bit. I'm actually going to, oh, I do remember, we did need it. I'm actually going to clear some of this out, and then I'm gonna knead it into some flour. So it's gonna get back thick and beautiful. Give me a second. Probably should. Alrighty, so I brought my mat back over here so I can knead it on my mat. I'm just gonna sprinkle some flour. You can sprinkle a lot of flour because you need it. You want it to catch up this flour. And keep it on the side. Come on. It is stuck. All right, there we go. Yeah, this is definitely not making more than 12 biscuits. Can't imagine it would, at least. I hope they're good though. I haven't had biscuits in ages. Biscuits aren't the best when you're trying to eat healthy, but you know, for this channel, I kind of want to make some recipes that are good, nutritious recipes. But I also want to make stuff that's like good for the soul, and biscuits are good for the soul. Alright, I think we're about where we need to be for these. I think one of the really main reasons you need to knead it is so that it has that like flakiness to it. And you can kind of already see that as we're working the dough. You can see that flakiness coming out. Alrighty. I think we're pretty good. Let's flour this a little bit more because we're about to roll it out. Alright, so here's your dough. You can see it. Let's see. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful dough. We are going to shape it in two different ways. One using a rolling pin and a cup, and the other doing it the good old-fashioned way. Alrighty, so I ran and got my rolling pin. I'm gonna put a little bit of flour all over it so it doesn't get got. I'm gonna start rolling out my dough. Roll it, roll it. All right, you can roll it out until you get to the desired thickness. They're gonna rise, so they can be a little thinner than what you want them to be in the end. This is probably a good thickness level, I think. Okay, so you can take a plain glass cup like this one here, and you can use it to do your biscuits. It will make it to where they're all the exact same size. So if you want them like that, that's your desired outcome, then this is the best way to do it and the cheapest way to do it. I mean, you can get like some cookie cuts and stuff like that to do it, but like, why do that when you can just use a glass from your cupboard? All right, just do that. And you pick it up, and that's your little biscuit. Little biscuit. I'm cooking mine on parchment paper, and I'm just gonna do this until this is done, and then I'll show you the other way to do it with the leftovers. Because the only thing about this is it's gonna have some leftover biscuits that aren't going to be, it's gonna have leftover dough, right? And you can keep rolling up, rolling it out. That's all good and fine until you like get to the absolute last that you can't do that with again. But there is another way. I call it the good old-fashioned way because this is how people used to do it back in the day. All right. They also used to use glasses too. They weren't crazy. All right, so this is a good old-fashioned way. Get you a glob of biscuit. And then you just knead it in your hands. It's really not focusing on my hand right now. There we go. All right, you just knead it in your hand. All I'm doing is like folding it over on itself. Oh no, it's losing me. I'm folding it over, trying to do it in a way so you can see. This is all I'm doing. It's nothing super fancy. They will be smaller because my hands are very small. But I like them this way because, one, I love eating biscuits with cane syrup, and having these little tiny ones is just perfect. So I like them like this. Just keep doing it in your hands. And they never, for me, they never turn out quite so pretty. I know my great-grandmother was very good at making them perfect, but I'm just gonna turn that off real quick. But I do not possess that talent, and yeah. That's a good little, I'll shape it a little bit. All right, and then I'm gonna put it on the pan and I'm gonna push it down just a little bit with my fingers, and you'll have little fingerprints, which just shows you made it with love. If you do want them to be lighter and fluffier, it is better to not knead them like this, because this does add more stress to them and just makes them more dense. They're still going to be amazing. The more you knead, the more it's going to be dense, or at least in my experience. I assume somebody can share the science behind that. I have no idea. You can see how it basically shapes to the shape of my hand. You can see the little lines and stuff. It's funny. So far we have 7. So I might be able to get 12 out of this. 8, 9, 10, probably not. And I think they bake for like 10 minutes. I'll have to look that up to be sure, but I don't think they bake very long. These are gonna be a little tiny, but it'll be fine. So I got to 11. I probably could have stretched it, but oh well. This is a great little meditation time. I just think about life, what you're gonna do after this. This is really quick. I mean, this, what, took 10, 20 minutes? Don't know why. I'm always like, oh, I don't have time to make biscuits. Biscuits are so easy. And I know my husband is gonna be so excited we have biscuits. We're not gonna be able to eat all of these right now, so what I'll do, which is what I do with all my breads, is freeze them, put them in a freezer bag, put some wax paper between them so they don't stick together. Toast them for 10 minutes whenever we're ready to eat them. And they will be good as freshly baked. Beautiful. All right, that's it. I'll show them to you once they're baked. So here are the biscuits. They turned out so good. They grew so much. I was so surprised how much they grew. I haven't tasted one yet, but I am totally about to dig into one because they smell amazing. The ones in the front, these are the ones that I did with the cups, so you can see a little bit of the ridges of the cup on the sides, but they look the prettiest. The ones in the back, I'll show you real quick. Hold on. Just not as pretty. Definitely have some strange ones up in there because I'm not very good at shaping these things, but they still smell so good. They look great. Oh, I'm so excited. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you can make some really tasty biscuits, have them with some cane syrup, or some sausage, whatever you like to eat your biscuits with, and just enjoy and have some food for the soul. See you next time.